for another season of the Don't Argue. That's right.
Yes.
All thanks to the team at Palmerbet, mate. And I reckon your shirt's faded a little bit as I just... has that got a little bit of a lighter blue, mate? What's happening?
Yeah, mate.
The old Palmerbet shirt.
Mate, I've been giving it a workout around Newcastle, mate, in the Hunter Valley. So, yep, Palmerbet boys, let's get the new merch rolled out for 2024.
Hey, mate, can I say, and I have seen a little bit of footage, been floating around in the off-season, fair dinkum. I reckon your Newcastle Knights were up and about last year, and I reckon it's just kind of got you a little bit itchy and edgy. You are looking in supreme condition, mate. Are you making a comeback, or what's going on?
Mate, just a bit of coconut oil over the break, just clean up a little bit. But no, mate, geez, it feels like a long off season, but there's certainly some excitement around Newcastle. But I think just around in general, anyone who's a supporter of the NRL and their favourite team is pretty pumped to see some of the trial games back on the TV. The last weekend, obviously, the All Stars game was on last Friday night, which was great, and mate, the Vegas game just around the corner as well. So. Yep, everyone's pumped, mate. Footy's back, and yep, for the Newcastle Knights boys, we hope they can continue the momentum that they built off the back of last year.
And you just touched on, mate, Vegas Sunday week is going to be absolutely back. There was the first time ever NRL in the States, in Las Vegas, Sin City. And there's one team going there. We're going to get to them shortly, Gids. I don't know whether it's ideal for them at the moment. They've had a tumultuous last couple of weeks, but Manly taking on the Rabbitohs, of course, it's a doubleheader, and then the Roosters taking on the Broncos. 30,000 tickets sold already. This is a huge win, a huge coup for the NRL for mine, Gids. It is up and flying, isn't it?
Yeah, mate. I haven't seen the email come through from the Palmerbet team, but just around our travel details, mate, at the moment. So. Yeah. I'm sure it'll be. I'm sure it'll drop in the email, mate, by close of business tomorrow. So we look forward to that trip. But mate, how good, man.
The whole Fox Footy team is going over. You know, surely we could have jumped on the back of Travis Kelce, just his little jet back after the Taylor Swift concert, just to spend a couple of days over there. It would have been awesome. Yeah,
no, we could have come live, mate, from Allegiant Stadium there. But like, how good for the current players, the four teams to be involved in that game. What an amazing experience. Mate, I think my trial games were Dubbo, Alice Springs, and Darwin. So not quite as adventurous as Las Vegas, but yeah, I think it's an amazing concept for the game. I love the way Peter V'landys backs himself and comes up with new strategies to grow the game. So pretty exciting. I think there'll be plenty of Aussies travelling over for it, but I'd imagine plenty of expats who live in America will be going to the game as well, and hopefully plenty of the Yanks will jump on board as well, mate.
And they've done a great job too, Gids. Russell Crowe, of course, doing the voiceover, just explaining the rules. We've seen all the promo stuff. They've really marketed it well. And as I said, 30,000 tickets sold already. There's still a week to go. I reckon they're going to hit that 40,000 mark, which is just massive. So good on them. Yeah,
no, unreal. Looking forward to watching it, that's for sure, mate. But big year ahead, mate. But we'll start with the odds, I suppose, mate, I guess.
Mate, we have got a lot to get through, a lot to dissect, and let's have a look at the Palmerbet market for the premiership odds for 2024. And it's no surprise to see the Penrith Panthers at the top of that list. They're at $3.75. The Broncos at $4.20. Heartbreaking last year. The Roosters at $9.50. Rabbitohs $9.50. The Storm at $10. Cowboys $15. Warriors $20. Sharks $21. Seagulls $21. Eels $23. Knights at $26, Gids. And the Bulldogs at $41, Dolphins $51, and over the page, Titans at $51, Raiders $61, Tigers at $101, and the Dragons, the outsiders at $126, Gids. But how do you see that market, mate? Is that a fair and reasonable start to the season from the team at Palmerbet?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about some of the, I guess the top four looks pretty good. I think the Rabbits, mate, obviously had a pretty ordinary into the year. I think there's a little bit of pressure on the Rabbits this year again. They've got still a pretty great roster, that's for sure, and they're always going to be really dangerous and competitive to play against. But I think there's a little bit of pressure on the Rabbitohs and they're still pretty short there at $9.50 at this stage. I do think.
I reckon the value, Gids. I'm looking at the Warriors at $20. I thought they had a really cracking year, and I reckon they're going to continue that form this year. I just reckon there's a real belief there, and they're so hard to beat on their home deck.
Mate, you're spot on that word belief, Matty. And we've seen, the two teams, Newcastle Knights and the Warriors, really believe in their teammates and their performance at the back end of last year. And I think just the support that Warriors have grown, and it's during that COVID period where they're almost everyone's second team because of what the commitment they had over those couple of years. Mate, they've grown some real belief, great stadiums. I think they sold out, mate, their trial game over in New Zealand. So that's a fair indication. And, mate, all that has an influence on the players and, again, their confidence and belief and the excitement that they're going to be really tough, obviously, over in New Zealand. But, mate, they were impressive last year.
And, mate, even your Knights, $26 coming off the back of a cracking year last year. Same thing, hard to beat at home, got that belief, going to build on last year, mate. It's going to be game on, I reckon, for mine as well. And they're at a nice little price. You'll have to have a play around there, kids.
Yeah, for sure, mate. I'll have a little dabble at that one. But, yeah, again, mate, those sold-out stadiums, a homey semi-final. But I guess both for the Warriors and the Knights, it would be important to get off to a good start to continue that momentum that they experienced last year.
Righto, mate. Let's have a look at the odds, all thanks to Palmer Bet for teams to make the top 8. You can get a little bit, if you multi a couple up here, this is where you can find a little bit of value, kids. Panthers are at $1.06, Broncos are at $1.12, Roosters $1.35, Storm $1.40, Rabbitohs $1.45, the Cowboys $1.65, Sharks $1.70, Warriors $1.75, Knights $1.90, Eels $1.90, Sea Eagles $2.30, Dolphins $3.50, Bulldogs $3.60, Titans $3.75, the Raiders $4.50 to make the top 8. The Tigers $6, $6.50 for the Dragons. Honestly, I reckon there's some value to be had there. If you can get 2 or 3 teams that you're really keen on, mould them up together, mate, and away you go.
Mate, 100%. I marked a few down before, mate. I think the Knights, almost double your money there at 190. I think the Smokies, mate. I looked at the Dolphins team. I know that they struggled with some depth last year once they had a few injuries, but I don't know. It's a pretty decent lineup they're putting out for this week's trial game, and they could be a bit of a Smoky there for top 8. Mate, they were impressive last year to start the year, and they got some genuine speed. They've recruited Herbie Farnworth and Flegler for this year, so they could be a little Smoky for the top 8 for me.
But even, you look at the Warriors, $1.75. We just touched on, they're going to be hard to beat at home. So they're going to win half their games, you would imagine, are going to go very, very close. $1.75 into the Storm, $1.40 into the, Broncos, $1.12, and the Roosters, $1.35. You can get a nice little multi there, mate.
Mate, for sure. I think, mate, there's some really good odds there, mate, around, as you said, stringing a few multis together. Mate, it's exciting. You sit and patient to follow it throughout the year and see if you get a return on that. Might be worth putting a small one on a little multi there, mate.
Mate, the least wins for the year. So the Dragons are on the nose, according to the team at Palmer Bet. They're at $3.25. So they're our favourite. Tigers at $3.50. You think there's going to be some genuine improvement at the West Tigers this year, or you hope at least, kids. Raiders at $7.50. This is a real surprising one for mine. I know they've had a few players leave and stuff like that, but I still reckon they've got a good core. Titans at $9.50, Bulldogs at $10, Dolphins $10, Manly at 21, Knights at 34. I don't think we need to go any higher than that, kids, in that market.
Nah, mate, I think there's a whole new coaching staff there at the Dragons. Obviously, Benji Marshall moving into head coach, but they brought back John Morris, Chris Hyington as well, 3 club legends there who played at the Tigers for a long time. So it'd be interesting to see how they respond to a new coaching style. I think Benji will have a fair crack at, mate, some new attacking structures. He was always quite an adventurous player from an attacking point of view. So I think they'll chance their arm a bit coming out of yardage and be pretty creative. But if that doesn't work, that'll put some pressure on them, that's for sure. And, mate, Flano's first gig back as head coach at the Dragons. Obviously, a lot of controversy around Ben Hunt last year. He wanted to go, openly wanted to leave the club, and Flano had to convince him to stay before he was even officially head coach. So I don't know. I didn't think that was a great look there last year. So it will be really intriguing, mate, to see how the Ben Hunt situation unfolds this year under a new coach, and whether he's keen to stay, whether he's passionate, and but I think there's a bit of pressure on the Dragons.
Righto, mate. Let's have a look team by team for 2024, kids. I'm going to really put the acid on you here, big fella. I want to know your thoughts, because we're going to start off with the Broncos. Heartbreaking finish to the season. They were home in that grand final, kids. We were all over them too, Bill. I was in particular, mate. I love what they put out last year. The Broncos finished the regular season second, lost that heartbreaking grand final. Nathan Cleary absolutely turned it on in the second half. Can they go all the way this year? So the premiership odds are $4.20. To make the finals, $1.12. To miss the finals, $5.50. Season wins, over 16.5 wins, $1.88. Under 16.5 wins at $1.88. And the favourite bet here is the minor premiership at $3.75 from the team at Palmer Bet. What are your thoughts, kids? The last couple of weeks, they've had a little bit of controversy, but the same thing happened at the start of last season, mate. They come out and had a ripper.
Yeah, mate, I thought it was not funny, but most clubs, you get this time of the year before the trial games, then, mate, everything gets more intense at training. The contact drills become a little bit more serious. Your training sessions, when you're in those opposed sessions, go from sort of 80% to 90, 95, 99. So it gets a little bit fired up. So it wasn't uncommon that there was a little bit of a scuffle between the players. They'd had a few beers as well, which obviously played a part. But most teams are having a few little blow-ups internally because the players have just chomping at the bit, ready to start the year. But, mate, I think they'll be right up there again. They've got some real genuine speed, the Broncos, and a pretty experienced forward pack. So I think I've got them in for top three, mate. I'm not sure whereabouts. I still think one of the other teams, obviously favourites, Panthers, will be right up there again. But I think Broncos top three for me.
Yeah, I think they're going to be very, very hard to beat. But I love that attacking brand of football they play. Offensively, they were very, very strong. I think if they can just tighten things up defensively, Gids are going to go a long way.
Mate, spot on.
Righto, mate. Let's have a look at the Canberra Raiders. Now, this is the big slider, according to the Palmer Bet boys. They've had a big off-season, the Palmer Bet boys, in their own rights, I reckon. But they finished the regular season 8th. They knocked out the first week of the finals. They had a couple of really close games last year that just things went against them at certain times. Will the Raiders find a replacement for Jack White? And that is the key storyline. Will they prove the doubters wrong? There's a lot of knockers. Premiership odds, $61. To make the finals, $4.50. To miss the finals, $1.18. Season wins, over 8.5, $1.90. Under 8.5, $1.75. And the favourite bet there is the over 8.5 wins at $1.90, which I reckon is a good bet, Gids, because they'll get over 8.5 wins, surely.
I don't know, mate. I feel like the Raiders might have missed their window. Obviously, they got beat 8 in their grand final. It was a few years ago now, wasn't it? Against the Roosters. Yep. And, Jack White was a big part of the club as far as, passion and heart and soul of the Canberra Raiders, and he's taken a new move to South. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure about the Raiders, whether they'll...
Yep.
I don't think they'll improve, mate, on the 8th position. I think they'll be out of the 8 this year.
So you can't see them getting eight wins, Gids?
Well, not with what I've picked my top 8 on. And, you go through your top 8 and, I struggle to find a spot from there. And then it gets pretty messy from there down. So I think they may struggle this year.
Righto. I love it, mate. Let's move along to the Canterbury Bulldogs. They finished the regular season last year in 15th position. The key storyline, all thanks to Palmer Bet, will the addition of Stephen Crichton kick the Dogs into gear, and when will the pressure start to mount on Cameron Ciraldo? That's the big question mark. Premiership odds, $41. To make the finals, $3.60. To miss the finals, $1.25. Season wins over 10.5, $2.16. Under 10.5, $1.67. The favoured bet with Palmer Bet under 10.5 wins at $1.67. Are you with that as well, Gids? You don't think they're going to have much of a season, the Bulldogs?
No, mate, I think defensively they were really poor last year, and Cameron Ciraldo mentioned that during several press conferences. So that's where you got to address the issues at all clubs is defensively, because number one, you need to save tries, but defence builds confidence and builds belief and builds resilience, mate. So they definitely need to work pretty strongly on their defence. They've signed a couple of big recruits again, like they have over the last few years, and I'm not sure that's always the best model. I think always the best model is building your own through pathways, like Penrith have done over the last probably 10 years, but they're reaping those rewards now. I think I was talking to Willie Mason there the other week, and during his era, when they had some great success, a lot of those guys had come through the junior pathways program, which I'm sure Gus is trying to build, but yeah, look, they've recruited some some really high-profile players over the last year, and they got to deliver. I think they'll improve on finishing 15th last year, but they've got to improve defensively for them to be even a chance of getting away from the bottom of the table.
They've just been really inconsistent for mine, up and down. You just don't know where you're going to get. Hey, talking about a team that I thought had a really disappointing finish to the year. You've been all over the Sharks the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They finished the regular season in 6th spot, but their back half of last year was really, really disappointing. Premiership odds at $21. To make the finals, $1.70. To miss the finals, $2.10. Season wins over 12.5 at $1.85. Under 12.5 at $1.91. The favoured bet here, all thanks to Palmer Bet, is a top 8 finish at $1.70. Do they play finals, Gids?
I think they definitely play finals, Matty. I think they would be disappointed. I think I had them in my top 4 again last year, just from roster. And, again, I've sort of mentioned a fair few times, I do like Craig Fitzgibbon and his coaching style. So I'll go through my top 8 a little bit later, but I think they'd be pretty disappointed in the last couple of years, the way they've finished the season. They've always been pretty consistent, been real competitors throughout the year and really challenged for that top 4 spot. They went out in straight sets 2022, that was, and they declined at the back end of last year, finished 6th, and then went out first round. So I think they took a step backwards last year, but I think they'll be looking to improve certainly on where they finished 2024, and they'll be hoping for pushing for a top 4 spot, mate, potentially this year again.
Beautiful, Gids. Right, let's move along to the Dolphins. I thought they cracking start to the year last year. They took everyone by surprise. Finished the regular season 13th spot. A huge amount of talent coming in, which you touched on earlier. Premiership odds, all thanks to Palmer Bet, $51. To make the finals, $3.50. To miss the finals, $1.28. Season wins over 10.5 at $1.91. Under 10.5 at $1.85. Favoured bet here, all thanks to Palmer Bet, is the NRL top point scorer, Jermaine Asako, at $4, Gids. I don't know about you, and I'm not going to divulge anything too early, but I reckon these guys can finish in the top 8 for mine. And I've probably just exposed myself, but I've got to be my top 8 predictions when we get to the end of the show, Gids.
No, mate, so I'm thinking the same as you, mate. Yeah, look, they were great last year. For the first year in the competition, for them to upset a lot of the teams in that first half of the year was quite amazing. They had a great following from how successful they were early. The depth is always the one that's going to be a question mark on the Dolphins at this stage until they really set up and established as a club and have a junior pathways program. But they've signed Herbie Farnworth, who was at the Broncos. Big fan of him. I think he's super strong centre and skillful, so he's a great signing. And Thomas Flegler as well. Tom Gilbert is in the forward pack. The Bromwich boys, or Jesse Bromwich. So I think they've got some. Mate, the Hammer, I thought he had a big year last year. He had a pretty origin period.
Great player.
He's got. I think every team needs to have a genuine speedster because they can turn the game. They can shift the momentum of the game at various times. So he was outstanding last year, the Hammer, and I've got him pushing for a top 8 spot, mate.
Oh, this is good. Good minds think alike, Gids. Righto, let's move along now to the Gold Coast Titans. Big fella, 2023 finish. They finished 14th. Key storyline, of course, Desi Hasler, first pre-season, full pre-season with the Gold Coast Titans, which I think is really, really important. A lot of talent on that list. Premiership odds, $51. Make the finals, $3.75. Miss the finals, $1.25. Season wins over 9.5, $1.80. Under 9.5, $1.98. And the favourite bet, Palmer Bet, is under 9.5 wins at $1.98. Gids, I've got the sneaking suspicion that Desi might just have a little bit of rub-off, bit of polish might come onto this Titans lineup this year.
Oh, mate. I'll tell you what he'll bring. He'll bring experience and discipline, Matty. I haven't been coached by Des, but, as a player, I admired his toughness as a player. I have spoken to plenty of players during the Dogs era and Manly. Super disciplined. There's no room for, certainly shortcuts or being complacent. So I think everyone will be on notice at the Titans. And, new coach coming in, probably new coaching staff as well, mate. You've got to earn your spot. There's no walk-up starts to your position in the team, and I think everyone will be on notice, and mate, that brings accountability, super amounts of accountability. So I think there'll be a big improvement. I'm not sure whether they'll get the top 8, but I think there'll be a big improvement on 14th.
Mate, let's move along to the Manly Sea Eagles. Finished the regular season in 12th last year. The key is, and we'll get to it, kids, but the key is the fitness of some of their key players. And the Turbos had a lot of injury over the last couple of seasons in particular. Their premiership odds are $21. To make the finals at $2.30. Missed the finals at $1.57. Season wins over 11.5 at $1.71. Under 11.5, $2.11. And the favourite bet here, all thanks to Palmer Bet, under 11.5 wins at $2.04. Injuries are key for you here, Gids. If they can keep their best players on the park, they're going to be hard to beat.
Well, mate, I don't have the stat off the top of my head, but it's pretty influential when Turbo plays and Manly wins. So I thought they got off to a cracking start last year, and they were gelling well together.
Up and about.
Cherry Evans had a cracking year for how many games he's played and the experience and the age he is. So he's obviously a big influence, but yeah, Turbo, the biggest influence in their team for sure. So again, from a footy fan point of view, I really do hope he stays fit and on the field. He's a great player to watch. He's a really humble guy, and it'd be great to see him back on the park and hopefully have a great, successful year. So I think Manly will be up there, mate. Definitely top 8 for me. But again, like most teams, comes down to keeping your best players on the park, and Turbo's the most influential one in their team.
Mate, let's move along to my Melbourne Storm, big fella. They finished the regular season 3rd, knocked out in the 3rd week of the finals, of course. They got the prelim. Key storyline, will the Storm get back to the grand final in what could be Craig Bellamy's last season? Well, that'll be a story. And you've got a bloke like Billy Slater, Cam Smith kind of waiting in the wings, I suppose, aren't they, kids? Premiership odds are $10. To make the finals, $1.40. To miss the finals, $2.65. Season wins over 13.5, $1.79. Over 13.5, $1.39. Under 13.5, $1.99. Favoured bet here is a top 4 finish at $2.65. I must admit, I haven't got the Storm in my top 4. That might surprise you, Gids.
I thought you were about to say top 8, and I was going to say that's a big call.
Okay. No, I've definitely got them in the top 8, but I have got them sliding just ever so slightly. But same thing, mate. I think it's going to be the key. Haven't seen a lot of Pappenhausen in the last couple of seasons. He's had a couple of horrific injuries. But if they can get him back and they can, just get some game time into him and Munster combining together, I think they're going to be a different outfit, aren't they?
For sure, mate. For sure. He's an exciting player. He's an X factor for Melbourne, that's for sure. Again, a player I like to watch and admire. So I do hope he comes back from his injury well and plays plenty of games through the year, and hopefully for the Blues mid-year. But yeah, mate, I don't know. How can you question where the Melbourne Storm are going to be at? I'll tell you what, the Palmer Bet boys can do a bit of research for us and get us some odds for, mate, their first game, round 1. Around what the odds will be for Craig Bellamy to win another round 1 game. So I think he's won.
It's something like 20 out of 21.
I think he's won 20 in a row, something like that. It's an amazing statistic, which I'm sure he'll continue. But the Pap's back, mate, at fullback. They've shifted Nick Mooney to the centre, so it'd be an interesting move for Nick to see how he handles that, probably defensively. And young Jonah Pazette, he played a lot through the Newcastle Juniors pathways. He probably gets a genuine crack at being one of the starting halves throughout the year. Obviously, Munster to come back, so he'll probably partner with Jerome Hughes there when he's back. But again, mate, Munster, he's played a lot of footy over the last 10 years, and that starts to take its toll on the body. So, he's had a few injuries last year in and out of the team, and it'd be interesting to see how his year unfolds. But, mate, Craig Bellamy, I would never. You don't question going to travel well, because they've got a great culture and they're really well disciplined. So they'll be competitive yet again. I don't have them in my top 4 though.
Right, mate. New Zealand Warriors next team finished the regular season fourth, knocked out in the prelim weekend as well, third week of the finals. They were awesome last year. Premiership odds $20 to make the finals $1.75. To miss the finals $2. Over 12.5 wins $1.80. Under 12.5 wins $1.98. Favoured bet here. Top four finish $3.75. Gids, we're seeing some more improvement out of the Warriors.
Yeah, I think so, mate. The New Zealand Warriors have always been a real danger throughout, since their inception. When they've got some belief and confidence, that was always a scary time to play them. And especially, and again, throw in the crowd factor. It was always a tough one to travel to New Zealand, especially from Newcastle, bus to Sydney, stay over in Sydney, early flight. It was a tough one. Throw in the fact that they're confident and they believe, and they've got a huge crowd behind them. It's a scary prospect, that one, mate. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck back at the Warriors, so back in the NRL for the first year. So I'm sure he'll be looking to come back to rugby league and make a mark. That's for sure. So I've definitely got him in my top 8. That's for sure. Let me reveal that a little bit later.
Beautiful, mate. Love it. Let's move on to your Newcastle Knights, kids. They took the season by storm last year, or the comp by storm. Finished the regular season 5th. I don't think anybody saw that coming. They were knocked out in the second week of the final, so they had the win in the first week, which is enormous. Premiership odds $26. To make the finals $1.90. To miss the finals $1.83. Season wins over 11.5 $1.74. Under 11.5 $2.04. Favoured bet to make the finals at $1.90. Gids, are they going to keep improving, mate, or was that just one out of the box last year?
Mate, I think they'll keep improving. And Matty, my thoughts around that. Bradman Best has just re-signed for 3 years. He had some big offers to go elsewhere, but really passionate about Newcastle and where the club is at this stage. So that was a great sign. Club's just re-signed Adam O'Brien for 3 years post this year. I know the players really look up to Adam and believe in his coaching style. I know Blake Green, all the players and assistant coach there, Rory cross Jason. So I think they've got a good dynamic who. The playing group and the coaching staff have been there for a number of years now. And obviously, mate, the momentum that the players and the club built at the back end of last year, 10 wins in a row, first home semi since 2006, won that home semi, sold out stadium. So they've experienced what it's like to be successful now. And I know they came back in really good shape, which was a good sign to understand the players are committed to continuing to improve. So I think good signs. Kayla, mate, his form at the back end of last year. I know I was talking to club legend Danny Baderas the other day, and he said he's been training amazingly. So I think there's some really good signs and belief. But again, mate, it's last year's behind us. Draw a line in the sand, and you've got to build that belief and momentum again. But that can be done, Thursday night, first comp game in Australia against Canberra again, funny enough. I think it'll be sold out again.
Yeah, it'd be huge. And two teams sponsored by Palmerbet. Of course, yes. The Canberra Raiders and the Newcastle Knights, which is
probably the other one there, Matty. Jack Cogger back to Newcastle, Central Coast boy. So interesting dynamic between 3 halves going into 2. Obviously, Tyson Gamble and Jackson Hastings done a great job in the halves last year. But throw in Jack Cogger, we've got 3 halves competing for 2 positions to start the year. So it'll be interesting to see who plays the best, probably in this Fiji trial this weekend, and see who scores the starting halves.
Love it, mate. Hey, let's move along to the North Queensland Cowboys. Disappointing year last year, finished 11th. Premiership odds $15. Make the finals $1.65. Missed the finals $2.20. Over 13.5 wins $1.95. Under 13.5 $1.82. Favoured bet of Palmerbet is to miss the top 8 at $2.20. Gids, they tend to have a good season, an ordinary season. They're due for a good one. What are your thoughts?
I think the pressure's on them, mate. I think that they probably overachieved in, 2022? Like they were playing really sharp footy, great attacking footy.
Yep.
Defensively, they were strong. Todd Payton was making some real quality changes as far as where they were heading. Last year was a huge step back for him. Back to 11th, finished in 11th and really struggled. So I think the pressure's on them, mate, to move their way back up the ladder, that's for sure, and play more consistently. Yep. So I haven't got them in the top 8.
Nah, I'm kind of still tossing and turning there for mine. Hey, Parramatta Eels, let's move along to them. They finished 10th last year. The pressure, obviously, the key storyline here is on Brad Arthur after missing the finals last year. Premiership odds $23 to make the finals $1.90. To miss the finals $1.85. Season wins over 11.5 $1.82, under 11.5 $1.95. Favoured bet here from Palmer Bet, under 11.5 wins at $1.95. Gids, what's your take on Parramatta?
Well, very similar, mate, to the Cowboys. I think both clubs probably felt they underachieved last year, and probably from a supporter base, they're definitely underachieved as well. So again, I think they're in similar pressure as the Cowboys. They've probably got a roster that can compete to be in the top 8, and they would believe genuinely that they should be in the top 8. But I think there's a lot of scrutiny on Parramatta. You know, when they're going well, they've got a huge supporter base and obviously very passionate fans, and but pretty fickle too. I think they can turn pretty quickly on their club and their team if they're underperforming. So I think there's a fair bit of pressure there again, and I don't think they'll be in the top 8.
Righto, mate. Let's move along to the Penrith Panthers, the all-conquering Penrith Panthers, looking for 4 on the trot, kids. That would be unbelievable. They are going to be the hunted, though. Of course, winning the last 3 premierships, they are flying. Premiership odds $3.75 to make the finals $1.06, to miss the finals $9.50. Season wins over 17.5 $1.91, under 17.5 $1.85. Favoured bet at Palmer Bet is to make the grand final at $2.10 at the start of the season. What's your thoughts, kids? How hard is it to keep that motivation level up to the team?
Well, I don't think the motivation part's a tough one. I think, you know, on the back of their amazing few years, 3 grand finals in a row, they'll want to continue to win games. That's what we're all in the game for, is to be competitive and win matches, because it's an amazing feeling when you can consistently do that. So definitely, again, they'll be one of the form teams in the competition. You've got a great pathway, you know, for players coming through. I think they had SG Ball, Jersey Flegg, reserve grade and first grade in all grand finals. I think they won 4 grand finals last year. So there's a fair effort of the talent they have throughout their junior system. And I guess, mate, as we've seen during that origin period, they lose a lot of their origin players and they're still able to win the majority of their games. Yeah. That's the toughest period of the year for club footy. So they'll be right up there, mate, in the top 2, if not minor premiers again.
Righto, mate. South Sydney Rabbitohs. Let's move along to them. They finished last year in 9th, disappointing. Are they going to live up to the hype in 2024? Premiership odds $9.50. Make the finals $1.45. To miss the finals $2.75. Kids. Season wins over 13.5 $1.88, under 13.5 $1.88. Top 4 finished the favoured way with punters at $2.75 at Palmer Bet. What do you reckon?
I think there's a bit of pressure on them, Matty. I think there's a bit of pressure. I mean, they're always one of the biggest clubs spoken about, you know, whether it's, you know, overseas. There's always someone wearing a Rabbitohs jersey. There's always a Rabbitohs fan everywhere. And I think that comes with some expectation. But there's always something bubbling in behind the scenes off the field, which, again, if you can just fly under the radar, play consistent footy, win the majority of your games, but fly under the radar a bit. But it seems as though when things aren't going so well, mate, there's always something off the field, whether it's in the playing group or out of their control, that there's always a headline. So I think there's a bit of pressure on the Bunnies this year, and probably the way how poorly they finished the year. I think there's some pressure on them.
Righto, mate. I love it. There is a bit of pressure building here in the land of Gids for a few of these clubs. This is exciting. Hey, St George Illawarra Dragons finished the regular season 16th. Can you boss Shane Flanagan get the Dragons back on track? Premiership odds $126. Make the final $6.50. Miss the finals $1.08. Season wins over 7.5 $1.99. Under 7.5 $1.79. Favoured bet here. Dragons top try scorer Zach Lomax at $6. What do you reckon, mate?
I still think they'll struggle, Matty, to be honest. Flanagan's first year, I mean, any new coach that comes in, most of the time he's, you know, inheriting a roster that, you know, isn't his. So first year is always the rebuilding phase, which I hate that terminology. But, you know, for any new head coach in, he needs to get an understanding of what the current playing group are like and who fits the culture and the the style of play that he wants to instill in his club, then there'll be player turnover. Then they'll re-sign or they'll look to sign the players that they feel that needs to fill the gap. But also, mate, the Ben Hunt one's the biggest circle I've got on this club. And again, there was a lot of controversy coming out of the Dragons last year, whether Ben Hunt wanted to leave immediately at that stage and ended up playing out the year. I mean, he's a super player, very talented, tough, great work ethic.
Yep.
But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how he kicks off the year. It's not all around Ben Hunt, but it kind of is at the same time.
So, Gids, let's move along now to the Sydney Roosters, who finished the regular season in 7th. They were knocked out in the first week of the finals. And to be honest, mate, I thought they were disappointing last year, in particular early in the season. They kind of come good late. Premiership odds there, $9.50. To make the finals, $1.35. Missed the finals, $3.10. Season wins over 14.5 wins, $1.95. Under 14.5 wins, $1.82. And the favoured bet here with Palmer Bet Punters, top 4 finish at $2.50. What do you reckon, big fella?
Yeah, you're right, mate. They were ordinary for the first half of the year, probably even 3/4 of the year, to be honest. But they come home flying to get into the semis. Remember, they had to win a lot of the majority of their games even to get a look in. I think they weren't aware whether they were in until, I think it was the Bunnies last game. Or they played the Bunnies, didn't they? It was whoever won that made the semis.
Cracking finish.
Mate, although they got to the semis, I reckon they'd be a bit dirty on the way things unfolded. So it's rare that the Roosters will have, 2 average years back to back. So I'm expecting a pretty influential turnaround. This one, mate, it's Jared Waerea-Hargreaves last year, mate. It's the Roosters. Whether he retires or goes over to the Super League, not sure, but I think there'll be an improvement. That's for sure from 7th. So I think they're in for a better year. I'm still just not sure whether they're set with their halves. Obviously, Luke Keary and Walker. Like he got dropped last year back to reserve grade, so I'm just not sure about the stability in their halves. And Brendan Smith, whether he's a full-time hooker, he can't knock out 80 minutes a hooker at the moment, and so they always need to carry someone on the bench, and that messes around with your rotation. So I think they've still got a little bit of uncertainty, but I think there'll be a big improvement.
Righto, mate. Let's move on to the West Tigers. Finished the regular season 17th last year. Big change in the off-season. Benji obviously taking over the helm. Premiership odds, $101 at Palmer Bet to make the finals, $6. To miss the finals, $1.11. Season wins over 8.5, $2.12. Under 8.5 is $1.70. Favoured bet here is the least wins at $3.50 with Palmer Bet followers. Can you see, they've shown signs, they've shown glimpses, haven't they, in periods, the Tigers over the journey?
Yeah, but glimpses, mate, isn't going to get you anywhere. Certainly won't get you near the top 8. I'm not sure. Finished last year 17th. They were just away from the spoon. It was a pretty tight one between them and the Dragons at that stage. But I don't know. No, I can't see it, mate. Again, new coaching structure. Yeah, the players might look up to Benji and get a response from him. I thought they underachieved last year. They signed Api Coruscant and Papali'i, but I thought they underachieved. I had them pushing for the top 8 last year, and it was very underwhelming.
Yeah, righto. So not a massive push there for you. For the West Tigers, mate. Now, listen, Gids, and we are going to be held accountable this year, all right, mate? We are going to have this to fall back on. So I want your top 5 predictions for the 2024 NRL season. And, Gids, they can be absolutely anything you want, mate. I'm tipping something's going to be based around your Newcastle Knights. But give us your top 5 predictions for the season, mate.
Yeah, mate, my top 5 predictions for the season will be, I think Penrith can do it again, mate, with the roster they've got and the depth they have in the club. I think they can go again. I think my beloved Knights can get in the top 4. I think they can genuinely push for that top 4 position with the belief that they've been able to build and the playing roster that I've just had a look at the team that's going to Fiji at the moment. It's pretty impressive. And I think, it can be a really tough away game for teams to travel to Newcastle with the with the crowd that the club's able to bring in. And
Yep.
mate, got Eels to miss the top 8. I think they'll miss the top 8. I think they're under some real pressure there at the Eels. I've got the Dragons down for least wins. And
bit of value there too.
Bit of value there. And, mate, I've got Jermaine Asako to be top point scorer for the year. Great goal kicker. I think the Dolphins can ruffle a few feathers again this year and be a bit more consistent. They've signed a couple of really good players. So I think he can be top point scorer, mate, for the NRL.
Righto, mate. I'm going to keep you accountable all year on those top 5 predictions, all right, for the NRL season. So every week we're going to touch in and check in and see how they are faring. Righto, mate. Let's go to the top 8. I'm even going to have a crack at my little top 8 for 2024, which I'm looking forward to. I've done a bit of homework too. It's been really tossing and turning with this over the last couple of days. What are you going with, mate? And I'm going to be very interested to see if we're very similar.
The Red Pen's back, mate, for season 2024 as well. I've got a few scribbles down here, mate, because it was a bit tough trying to get the last or the bottom 4 of the top 8. But I've got Panthers number 1, Broncos to finish 2nd, Roosters to finish 3rd, big improvement.
Yep.
The Knights 4th.
Yep.
And then Storm, mate, becoming 5th.
Yep.
Sharks in 6th spot.
Yep.
Manly 7th, and the Warriors in 8th, mate.
Geez, Manly, yeah, right, eh? I'll tell you what, we're going to disagree here. I've got a little bit left field, but I agree with your first couple, but I've just got them in a different order. So I've got the Broncos to finish the minor premiers. I love it. I love what they put out. I just love their attacking style of play. Panthers to finish 2nd. We know they're going to, defensively, they're such a strong outfit.
Yep.
I've got the Warriors in 3rd.
Okay.
I love what they did last year, and I reckon they can build on that. And I reckon they're going to be so hard to beat at home. I've got the Roosters in 4th, Gids. I tossed up between the Roosters, and you might laugh, but in 5th position, I've actually got the Dolphins.
The Dolphins, holy dooly.
I've got the Dolphins in there, so I've just slotted them in at number 5. Then I've got my Melbourne Storm in at number 6. So the Storm go in at 6. I've got the Gold Coast Titans.
Wow.
I found a spot for them, Gids.
Wow.
Into 7. And I've got the Rabbitohs in at 8. So a couple of smokies there, the Dolphins and the Gold Coast Titans. All right, they're the 2 that I'm playing around with to have some good years.
They are a couple of smokies. So, mate, you've left out Sharks, Manly, Souths, Cowboys, Para. Couple of big clubs there that you've casted.
Mate, sick of the New South Wales teams, mate. You know.
Yeah, that's a man. Great word.
Nah, mate. So we're gonna be both keeping ourselves accountable right throughout the season. So that's going to be good fun as well. Hey, listen, as we touched on too, mate, don't forget those Vegas games. Sunday week, it is going to be absolutely huge. Double header. First game kicks off at 1:30. Next game kicks off at 3:30. It's Manly taking on the Rabbitohs first, and the Roosters and the Broncos to kick off the NRL season in Las Vegas, kids. That is unbelievable.
Mate, unbelievable. What a great way to kick the year off, mate. Unbelievable year last year, how tight the competition was from that sort of, I guess, top or 4th position right through down to about 12th or 13th, I think. So a lot of teams were competing throughout the year, certainly the back end of the year, just to get in the 8. So expecting another unpredictable, mate, but competitive year for the NRL.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. We're going to be back next week with a full round 1 preview too, which is fantastic. Download that Palmer Bet app. Get involved. Great organisation to be involved with. They love their NRL. They love their Newcastle Knights and also the Canberra Raiders in particular as well, Gids. And they'll be looking for some big years from them as well. Hey, listen, mate, looking forward to the season. It's going to be a cracker, and looking forward to next weekend, round 1. It's going to be an absolute beauty as well.
Yep. Thanks for hosting again, Matty. Look forward to a big year and all the best, everyone. Enjoy.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.